Hey there friends, it's Mark from Men Who Bullet. Thanks for hanging out with me today as I set up my weekly spread inside of my B5 size Archer and Olive bullet journal. This week is going to be fun and just a little bit different than normal because I actually have a theme that I'm going with this week. I'm 3 episodes into Stranger Things. I'm completely involved with this season and just the visuals and the whole kind of theme of it. So I wanted to bring that into my bullet journal. But what I always like to talk about with my bullet journals is I always like to focus on functionality first, and then sometimes I'll add in fun. So sometimes that might be with some colors or markers or stamps. And this week I'm doing a little bit more kind of drawing as a part of this. Now, I'm only 3 episodes in, so there will be no spoilers about this at all because I haven't seen all the episodes. So everything I'm pulling from has honestly been mostly from the posters and from the trailers. So you'll see that we have the clock. I'm pulling a Strange Times instead of Stranger Things out of this. A little bit on the nose with this season. So much of the imagery of the grandfather clock is played into it. And then also, let's be honest, these are strange times right now. There's just so much going on in the world. A lot of things this past week that have really kind of rocked my ship at home. And just, it's just strange times is the best way that I can kind of explain it. So when I was thinking about adding these things in here and doing something Stranger Things inspired, I thought, you know what, let's not just write Stranger Things on it. Let's just go with a strange time. So a little bit of mix of those. I've got a calendar, and then I'll show you real quick how I'm setting up this week. It'll be a 5-day work week with space in the middle for notes. So we'll talk about the spacing for this if you're looking to do something like this for yourself. That's the most important part, is the functionality. And then for the design of this, I'll talk about the materials in just a second on how we're going to get some of those cool themes kind of coming in through here. So let's go ahead first and take a look at how we're taking on kind of the grid of this page. Everything I do is really honestly inspired by, okay, what's going to be the most functional for my week and how am I going to make that happen? So I have a grid space in the back of my bullet journals. I've been doing these for the past 2 or 3 now, and I just think it's the easiest way possible to be able to quickly think about, okay, what is this going to look like on the page? And I keep it simple. I'll be honest with you. It's nothing nutty. If I'm going to move some things around, I will. So for this week, what I'm really looking to do is just leave a lot of room for notes. It's every single week. If you've been watching the series, you know that I write a ton of notes at work. And so it's really important for me to have that rapid logging space. And then usually I will leave some space for daily tasks or meetings or things like that I need to try to accomplish. So the first thing is I split my page into 2 this week. So what that looks like if I'm following my grid space here is that there's 15 squares on the left with 2 in between and then 15 on the right. So that's what this looks like. We have 15, and then there's going to be 2 that divide this page, and then another 15 here. And I did that on both sides. I'm keeping it very symmetrical this week. It just makes it really nice and easy, and that way the design that I'm adding on top of it kind of shines out a little bit more and kind of comes inside of that page. Now, to set up a week, most of the times I don't do weekends, but because of symmetry, I'll set up kind of a 3 rows, that are on here. So I'm going to do that this week, except I'm only going to have Monday through Friday of this week because I'm going to save this top space for what you just saw a second ago, which was the sketch for the Stranger Times, a calendar, and some of the other elements from the show. So to get this out, I'm just going to do a real quick 3-row layout here. So this is actually going to be 14 squares from the top. There's going to be 2 that separate each of the individual boxes. So 14, 2, and then 14, 2, and then 14. So it's honestly very similar to what the divide is down inside of these columns here. The difference is that because of the shape of this, we have 15 and 14. So they're almost square, but they don't need to be square. It works out pretty well. So when I'm filling this out too, you'll see where I started to add in some of those extra design features is in the top here is going to be where I have an image or that calendar. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to kind of fill in each one of these spaces with some cool designs. You'll see in a second what I'm doing there. But then the center part of this page is just going to all be for notes. So rapid logging and daily logs throughout that week with kind of a weekly overview. So as you can see, all of that is laid out here just in pencil first to make sure that I have what I need. So I just sketched it super lightly on top of here with those spaces. So these are 14 squares with 2 in between as we go down that page. This has the same space. Now I did go a little bit beyond my normal border that I'm going to do for these boxes, just because, well, I had the space one, and also after I sketched in the Stranger Times font, and I wanted to add that clock in here, it stretched a little bit past here, but that's totally okay. It's going to be a fun one. From this season, I haven't really seen these things yet, but there's these flying creatures that I've seen a lot of in this season in both the previews and I think in last night's episode that I watched, I saw them start to fly around, and they're on the poster too. So I'm adding some of those in here. And then this series or this season's villain has these like really nutty tentacle deals. I've seen the villain a few times in the show, and they're just kind of a dead looking thing. I don't know what to call it. So I'm going to be branching out with those. So they'll come out of here. And then what I did also, because I split my page, I'm going to have them come out of the margin just a little bit. Again, this is about functionality. I have to be able to actually use it right inside of this page. So I've only come in just a little bit on the sides here, which aren't really going to impede anything that I'm doing. Now, this season, a lot of the trailers and everything else have showed a clock inside of it, and that grandfather clock. So that's what I have up here. So what I'm actually going to do is I found these stamps that I had already, and there's a grandfather clock that's inside of this group here from 365. And I'm going to put them around here on the page just using some black ink, and then I have an acrylic block. That's what this will stick to. And we're just going to add them on there. I'm not going to add any extra color or anything like that. So it'll look pretty cool, I think, and really let the colors of the extra elements come out. I have a ruler, of course. I've already used my pencil. This is a really cool pencil. I love this mechanical pencil from Plotter. You turn it to make the pencil lead come out, which I think is just super cool, and it's got a really cool, nice, heavy feel to it. I'm kind of getting into pencils now. Having really nice pencils is just a nice way to elevate what I'm doing week to week. I'm also going to be using one of the Faber-Castell Pitt Artist pens. This is the extra small. I'm going to mostly be using that for the calendar that's inside of here, and I'm also going to use it for the lines that will go around the boxes. So once I put down these stamps first, then I'll come back in and fill that in with a really nice thin marker that's here. All right, the first thing that I'm going to do is go ahead and just go right in and fill in the Stranger Times font here with the Ruby acrylograph pen from Archer and Olive. I'm most nervous about that, and that's why I'm going to do it first. I'm going to just kind of follow along with my pencil lines that I have here already. It's not going to look exactly like the Stranger Things font, but it's going to hopefully look kind of cool. I think what really sets off the Stranger Things font from anything is that it's outlined, that it's also has these different like sizes inside of here, and we'll do that. Once I have that in, and I feel good about it, I really only have one shot, then I'm going to go ahead and come in with the Pitt Artist pen here, and I'm just going to do some of the details around this space. I really feel like I'm going to start up here first, then I'm going to come in with the stamp, and then I'm going to go ahead and outline it, and then I'm going to add in the extra details around kind of these vein tentacles. I don't really know what to call them just yet because I don't really know what they are, but that's what I'll do afterwards and add in some of that detail. So let's go ahead and first start with the Archer and Olive pen. So what I'm going to do next is I'm going to go ahead and just draw in both the grandfather clock, do my calendar, and then we'll come back to the paint in just a second and just figure out and fill out the rest of this top section here. So let's go ahead and first focus on the calendar while this dries for a hot second, and then we'll come back in and get that clock done. The goal here for this is not perfection. I'm obviously just doing this freehand, but I'm just going to add in a little bit of extra detail with some stippling. Stippling is a really nice and easy way just to get a little bit of texture on top of a drawing like this, especially if you want something to look old. You just want to take your pen and just kind of create some dots. I like to do them like in any of the corners or any place where you feel like it would be dark. They act as your shadow, is really what they are. So if any point of your picture or the photo or anything that you might be drawing needs to look old and add some shadow, just stipple it instead of trying to shade it. You could shade it, I guess, with a brush pen or something, but I am no good at that. So we're just doing this. All right. That's all I'm going to do. I'm going to start messing it up if I start doing anything else. So let's go ahead and start to fill in some of the other parts. So we're done with that. We'll get into the rest of those details in a second. But first, I want to get in all of the spaces that I'm going to be using for the days of the week. So it'll be Monday and Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday over here. And so for this, there's actually a really cool grandfather clock that was a part of this 365 stamp kit. This I got from Cute Things from Japan. It's like a very amazing, cool stationery store where like all of the Japanese artists are there, and you can get them and ship them here to the US if you can't find them here already. So we're going to be using that today along with just some of the Craft Smart ink. This could be any type of ink, but this is the first one I grabbed and it's black and we're good to go. So the way that I'm going to do this is I'm just going to kind of sit them. You'll see I already kind of drew some rectangles around here where I want them to go. I'm not going to be coloring them in. They're really just there for the creepiness of the Stranger Times thing going along with that overall like clock theme that we have going on this season. All right, we're going to just give that just a second to dry, and then what I'm doing is go in with my ruler and my Pit Artist pen. It's a really thin little tiny one, and then I'm going to go ahead in and just fill in the rest of my square that I have around each one of these to contain each one, and then I'll probably come back in with that red acrylograph and then do the days of the week here, and then I'll go ahead and add in just those last little details for these vein vines, I'm calling them, and then we'll be in a good spot for the week. So really excited to get this thing in a good spot. So let's go ahead, get to it. All right, and here we go. It is our Stranger Times themed weekly. I gotta say, loving it. I like the little extra bit of detail. Not looking for photorealism here at all. This is just an idea. So figuring out that hand font myself over here. Some of the images inspired from this season of Stranger Things, which I'm excited to continue to work on. We have the rest of this week that I started here at the top. So, starting this week off on the 29th through the 4th of June. Crazy that it's going to be June already. And then I'll just work my way through the rest of that. Monday through Friday over here with some of those grandfather clocks sprinkled throughout. And then we have our vein vines, I'm calling them, which are kind of coming out from the center of the page and then also off here to the side of the calendar. So loving this. This will be super fun to get into this week and I cannot wait. So thank you so much for hanging out with me today. It's a little bit more of a artistic creative journal page, but hopefully you understand the functionality of this first and then adding fun design layers on top of it afterwards. That's what I'm always aiming for. Thanks so much for hanging out with me. If you liked this plan with me or looking for some other great ideas, here's some other series that you can check out here, including entire bullet journal ideas to get your bullet journals kicked off. Have a wonderful rest of your week, and I'll talk to you very soon. See ya.